Hi there. Thanks for tuning to our Infrastructure Tech Talk, where we feature technologies that matter to our clients' business. My name is Eugene, and today I have with me our in-house experts Ricardo and Edwinder to share their point of view on our topic around application modernization. Perhaps I'll start with you, Vic. Can you let us know what are the challenges that the client face where it comes to modernizing their applications?
In my view itself, there are actually 5 things that's actually hindering the legacy applications to be really transformed into the likes of microservices, right? So we talk about the first thing, right? Budget, right? So if we want to do budget for apps refactoring, for example, it's usually quite costly. The second point itself is that from a people's perspective, right, when we look at the inability of the application developers, right, they may not be able to, scale to the new ways of working or the new ways of development, right, like microservices, for example. And this largely goes on to my third point in the sense that the time to market, right, for these applications itself, right, how do we really maintain that time to market for the applications? Because again, if the development is so slow, right, and let's say for example you take 3 years itself to develop the old applications into new applications, right? The whole business itself couldn't wait for that. That actually give us another pointer that because a lot of these older applications itself run on virtual machines. And we think about it, right, where you have virtual machines and let's say for example you have cloud itself, right? How do you actually maintain this in a single platform? Is there really a way to do this? To really modernize the legacy applications? Yes, there is. At least in my point of view itself, it's really about the method, right, and also the platform itself. So the choice of platform is important, the method to do it is important.
Right, thank you. Your views, Edwinder?
So I'd like to bring a different dimension in terms of this whole application modernization journey. And what I've seen is the cultural aspect, which influences the success rate to a certain extent, right? There are 2 approaches that I've seen being taken, right? One is a very top-down approach driven by management giving the direction that, hey, this is where we're going to go for the future to survive the business. And there's the other approach where it's a bit of a skunk works kind of thing where departments may see and understand the value of the benefits, but may not necessarily gain the bigger buy-in from the rest of the organization.
Thank you for the insightful sharing, guys. Vic, I'd like to pick up that point you mentioned about on-premises and public cloud, right? How important is this? And it looks like the public cloud today has already some form of answers, right? Do they really provide the least path of resistance to our clients who might be looking into application modernization?
To remain relevant to this itself is really how do we then scale across private cloud and public cloud? Right? The answer to me, at least in my opinion itself, is actually containers, right? That is where enterprise supports becomes key, right? And I think there are a few vendors that really excel both in the enterprise support as well as having that upstream alignment to Kubernetes. One of them is definitely VMware Tanzu, right? And VMware Tanzu operates both in private clouds as well as public cloud, right?
But again, I think there is always a fine balance between the two because from a cost perspective, anything that you put into the cloud in a way has a clock ticking. There's always dollars and cents being charged to you. The question is how much, right? So I think the balance is, again, if there's revenue generating applications, it's going to be more heavily cloud-led. Right. Whereas if it's more operational point of view, keeping the lights on approach, it's going to be heavily more on-prem.
Thank you very much, Edwinder. So it seems like a lot of hard work for our clients to embark on this application modernization journey, right? So besides the POC, which Edwinder mentioned earlier, but how does a client even consider if an application can potentially be modernized?
It's really following the 3, what we call it as the 3 phases, right? So first is the discovery of applications, right? Where we want application modernization itself, we definitely need to know what the application is all about. Secondly, after that, we go into the analysis of the applications, right? Because again, one single application itself may be talking to different applications out there. So what would be the co-relationship between the applications itself and how do they talk to each other? And finally, if we talk about the last phase itself is obviously to transform, to re-platform into containers, right? From virtual machines. So that today itself, there are quite a number of tools. If you look at the whole process from an end-to-end perspective, discovery, analysis, transform, it's a bit of a chore to do, right? To be honest, right? Although it's being defined, but it's a chore. So the good thing about this itself is that we have recently learned of the new tool that's called the Application Transformer from VMware that actually allows you to actually do that thing from a single UI perspective.
Yeah, I think there's 2 aspects towards the whole journey itself. I think we've covered quite extensively around one of the areas where part 1, how do you modernize your apps itself? keeping the applications alive, keeping the lights on, understanding how do we patch, how do we run operations for day 2 to keep these applications alive.
Wow, thanks for your time and very insightful sharing. Indeed, our clients' journey to modernize their applications can be made a lot easier if they find the right partner.